First up is the movie Fall Guy, starring Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt, from the director of Bullet Train, which I still have not watched. It tells the story of a stuntman who's in love with a camera operator, but he injures himself in a freak accident. And a year later, his camera operator friend is now a director. And the star of the film, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, which is probably the best role he's been in forever, goes missing. And they're like, we need his stuntman to help find him. It sounds like a stupid idea, but it kind of makes sense later on. Then there's some wacky shenanigans. It's tied into this mystery, and there's plenty of stunts. Doug, what did you think of the film?
I didn't get into it, honestly.
Really?
I heard some good reviews on it, and I'm not I saw a little bit of the original show, but I mean, I'm not a diehard fan of it or anything, so I was going in with kind of new eyes and everything. And it is more of a rom-com, which is fine, but in my opinion, for me anyway, if you're gonna do the rom-com tropes, you either gotta go crazy with them. You have to do a Christmas rom-com thing where you have these stupid rules and they're really, really over the top and stuff like that. Or you have to be legit really charming with a smart script and really believe, the chemistry and the interaction and stuff like that. While the actors are really charming, every line I was kind of saying what the lines were going to be, and then the jokes weren't getting a big laugh out of me. And then the other thing that, I don't know, rubbed me the wrong way, because I know the guy who directed this was a stuntman, and he said he wanted to put more attention on stunt performers, which they do not get enough attention, big time. I thought that was kind of, they just kind of say, hey, they don't get enough attention, then they don't focus much on actually planning out the stunts and everything, which I know is supposed to be a rom-com too, but I'm thinking, man, if they really did a movie you're really focusing on a real stunt performer and a real director, having this chemistry together, just a real version of that I think would be really interesting. But even if they want to go this silly route, that's fine. It just didn't make me laugh that much. And with the stunts, I actually thought the bloopers at the end, where they're showing them actually prepared to do the stunts and then they show them in one take, I thought those were shot and edited better than the ones in the movie, and I had more respect for the stunts being performed in it, because everything else just looked like a typical action picture to me. So it didn't do much for me. I didn't hate it, but as someone that does think that stunt performers don't get enough attention, I did expect more attention on them.
Okay, Joey, how did you feel?
Well, first, Tony, you forgot to mention, it might be your manliness, but you forgot to mention the name of the game here. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Rewind. Joey, what's the name of the game for these live shows? Sorry, I skipped through the shilling section. Please, shill just one last time for us.
It's okay. Tony, the name of the game here is Super Chat. So, chat, if you want Tony, Dougie, Joey, or Gilly to whisper sweet nothings into your ear, send us a Super Chat. We'll read it out loud within reason, for the love of God. Okay. We got that out of the way.
With that being said, how did you feel about The Fall Guy?
I was super stoked for it because David Leitch did amazing with Bullet Train, one of my favorite movies in the last 10 years. And Aaron Taylor Johnson is the man. I thought he played the douchebag so good. I thought Ryan Gosling's comedic timing was pretty okay throughout, but I do feel like they tried way too hard to be funny in this movie. And Doug, you mentioned the rom-com aspect of this movie. I feel like they couldn't decide if they were going to stick with that storyline or not, because I think it was his ex-girlfriend or his girlfriend or whatever. They didn't spend nearly enough time together to get me on board. They were pretty much separated until for most of the back half of the movie.
Yeah, and that's a thing too. They say they just kind of separate in the beginning, and throughout 90% of the movie, we don't know why, and when it's revealed, it's not a very good reveal. Exactly. So that really hurts the chemistry as well.
It does. So half the time I'm like, all right, am I watching a mainly an action movie, or are they trying to get on the rom-com train? And I just felt like the story wasn't that captivating, but the ride along, it was pretty okay. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't the worst movie on the list, I'll tell you that.
No, I think we all know what the worst movie. The one movie I left off the thumbnail graphic. Gilly boy, how did you feel about The Fall Guy?
I was trying to see if I could remove myself from the stage for a second. I don't know if I can get back on, though. This movie actually gave me a lot of hope for cinema because I've been seeing so many headlines about how movies are dying because this is failing at the box office. But I realized inherent in that headline is the assumption that this movie is worthy of a big box office performance. But seeing it, I agree with everything that both of you guys said. It's just not that great a movie. It's like okay. And at first I thought the movie kind of put me under a spell where I was like, there's all these really clever, zippy one-liners. But I realized that that was all just like the charm and chemistry of Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt. But when you actually listen to what they're saying, like, wait a minute, that's not clever at all. Like there was this thing with the Post-it notes, and he's like, oh, he's still doing the Post-it notes? Yeah, it's at like a Memento level now. And I was like, well, it's a movie reference, but it's just a movie reference. Like, there's nothing clever about it, and they sprinkle those in throughout the movie. There's one part where they talk about how the third act of the movie they're making isn't working. So one of the characters suggests, what if we go meta and in the movie itself point out that the third act isn't working? And I'm like, is that what they did with this movie? Because it goes really meta and doesn't take its own plot seriously at all, but it's using that meta aspect not in a Scream-like way where it's commenting on something or deconstructing something. It really just becomes so winky that you can't really get invested in the plot at all. Yeah. But I do think Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt did have great chemistry, and when they're playing off each other, I had a lot of fun with that. And I have to admit, anytime that Kiss song
the disco, the Kiss is one disco
like,
song.
I was made for loving you. So good.
It did work almost every time for me, but generally I was like, it's fun in spots, but overall not very good.
Well, look, I think I like this more than all of you guys. As I was watching it, I was at the very end. I was like, that was a great experience. That needs to be experienced on the big screen. And I said that from my living room watching it on my TV because I didn't see this in theaters. No, I kind of agree with a lot of what you guys are saying. It kind of worked for me. I'm kind of a sucker for these rom-com action movies, and I don't know why. Like, I'm thinking like Night and Day with Tom Cruise. I enjoyed that. I liked going way back, like Romancing the Stone. And then what was the new one that was kind of like that? The one with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Or whatever. I enjoyed that one too, mostly for the Brad Pitt fake out. That was pretty great. This one I kind of enjoyed. But what you were saying about stunt work, Doug, I thought like the stunts would be a little bit more impressive in this.
Yeah. Well, and they are. See, that's the thing. When they show the behind the scenes, they are. I think they're shot okay. I think they're not edited. Well, they're edited just like a regular action film, and for a film that's about stunt performers, I think you really have to show why this is impressive. You may have to show like a car jump over, a giant candy or something. If you gotta show it like 2 or 3 times all the way from 3 angles, do it. You've built up how incredible stunt work is. Let us see the stunt work and let us really take it in.
My issue with it is, in the film, several times, there's these conversations about not relying on visual effects and doing the stunts in camera. And then most of the stunts, like this image here, look like a cartoon. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wait, why would you include... I would have been fine, because with comedies, I'm not worried about good visual effects, usually. Sometimes it's funnier if a comedy has bad visual effects. But I'm like, you made a point to, like, say you have a stance on in-camera action, then most of these stunts look like just cartoon CGI stuff, and I'm like, okay, well, that you're not really like delivering on what you're promising here in the script. However, I will say, you said the jokes didn't land for you, guys. I lost my shit laughing at the unicorn gag.
That is the one. Yeah, that's the one.
So just to sum it up here, they drug Ryan Gosling. And he wants to know when the drugs wear off. And he's like, when you stop seeing the unicorn. And he looks over and there's a unicorn. And that's funny. And then the next scene, he's like checking in the hotel and the unicorn is behind him still. I'm like, oh, that's pretty great. And he like goes into a room and they don't even draw attention to it. The unicorn's just in like the other room next to him. And I couldn't stop laughing at that guy.
Well, okay, one other thing I'll add on top of that. One other thing they did that I'm saying to myself, how has this not been done more often? Because I couldn't think of another movie that did. There's a scene where they roofie his drink, they give him some sort of drug that makes him see stuff like unicorns, and he has an action sequence, a fight sequence, and it's very short, but I'm thinking, why aren't there more fight scenes where somebody's on some sort of hallucinogen or something like that? Like, that's a really clever, inventive idea. You know, where when he punches someone, he'll actually say pow or something, or he'll have like motion lines when he's punching someone, or sparkles or something. It's like, that's a really great idea. But they only sort of, you know, dabble in it. I'm thinking like, man, I'd love to see that go even further.
But I was initially disappointed by that because, like you guys were saying earlier about how this is a stunt man movie, so I was expecting them to really go in interesting directions with the stunts. And I was like, okay, so the first fight scene is now punctuated with this kind of cartoonish look because he's on drugs. But I was like, okay, it's only because he's on drugs, but the next fight scene is going to be really grounded. But then, Tony, like you said, when they were spinning in that truck, I was like, this looks like a cartoon. I also thought there would be an element of he's used to stunts that have been rigged up and prepared, but can he really go out there and spontaneously like jump? But they didn't play off that element at all, really. He just was a big action hero. Yeah,
he was like legit a good fighter, and that could have been a joke where like he's so used to choreographed fights that he wouldn't actually know what to do in a fight because he doesn't know what the other guy's going to do. You could have had a lot of fun with that, and for some reason they didn't really go there.
Well, and I think and maybe because we've been on shoots and stuff, that for me, the most suspenseful scene is just when he's first on set and he's driving and they're trying to tell him, you know, get a little closer to the camera. I'm going to hit the camera. I don't think I'm going to have to control the speed. No, go ahead and do it. And he hits the camera. And I remember watching it just going, oh, like that. You felt that dread of just hitting a camera so much more than like any of the other like scenes or the story or anything else. Because I think you really felt like the tension of that. That was the one scene where, even though obviously it's played up for movies and simplified, I really felt like, man, you're getting into like the stress of being a stunt performer, and it's interesting. Like, it's really, really interesting. And if they want to go really big, go crazy big. I don't think this movie goes crazy enough, honestly. It either had to be pulled back a lot more, it had to go just crazy balls to the wall nuts, in my opinion.
But overall, I think it was fine. I guess it'd be a good date movie. Because, you know, girls
I can see it as that.
Yeah, girls get like the romance out of it. Guys get some kind of action out of it. It'll please both of them. Joey C., will you be watching this movie on your next date?
Of course. I have a whole book of them somewhere.
Grimace has it.
But yeah, you said the original TV show. I did not know there was an old TV show. I saw Lee Majors at the end. And I'm like, that's Lee Majors. I'm like, what the fuck is this cameo? And I'm like, hold on. I'm like, oh, this whole thing has been a remake. And I'm like, oh, really reaching at the bottom of the barrels there. I thought Chips was reaching when they rebooted Chips a while back, but
I was shocked to see they're making a movie. The only thing I don't remember the show being anything that except again putting attention on some performers and stuff. But the theme song is very, very catchy. That is the one thing.
The theme song should have been like a cue because he doesn't show up to the post credit scene, which I thought was funny. But yeah, I'm watching. I'm just like, what is this theme song? It feels like an old timey song. And then I was like, oh, okay, got it. I understand now.